He's a coach, he's a great friend, and he's the founder of the Hero Nation. Please help me welcome Mr. Wayne Salmans.
Woo! All right, are we ready? All right, I am so thrilled you are with us. I wish Elisa Parker a couple months said, I can't wait to just hug somebody until I can feel their heartbeat. Like, I cannot wait where we can be together, but I'm thrilled that we're doing this. So, are you ready? It's so crazy, right? We've labeled this thing the best pandemic yet, and I've actually got some great hate mail around that. The people that didn't read like 2 more sentences, right? But we talk about the best pandemic yet, meaning when times get tough, we're going to get tougher, correct? Right? When the struggle shows up, we're going to lean in instead of run away, correct? So today, here's what I ask. If you're watching this here, or some of you are here with us, that you take this time to renew a little bit. Like, just get present and enjoy this experience. We often, especially as high achievers, we go, 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 go. And sometimes we need to have some times where we literally just sit back and receive, right? Most of you are people that are pouring into your teams, you're pouring into your communities, you're pouring into your families, right? And you need some time where you just sit back and allow others to pour into you. And I pray that today you have that kind of experience and you get a ton out of this, and this really is your best pandemic yet. Sound good? All right, are you ready? Yes? Okay, that was a little weak, but I get it. We're working on it. All right, here's my question for you. What are you proud of so far this year? What have you been resilient around so far this year? What have you leaned into this year? What have you learned about yourself this year? I think what's interesting is during this pandemic, we've had a lot of lessons. Right? Some people will have that lesson and they will forget about it in a couple months, and they'll need to have that lesson over and over and over. Most of us are having some lessons, and we're going to learn from these and really choose the kind of experience we're going to have as we go through this. And here's my first request for you. My first request, let me say it this way. I think that, I don't know if I think that the biggest mistake we will make is returning to normal. Does that make sense? Like, I think the biggest mistake we'll make is to not learn from these amazing, wonderful, crazy, wild, however long it's been, and not learn and do something different moving forward. Agreed? So as we look at this, there's a couple things. You may not know some of this stuff. First off, there's some really cool things that have happened in this year, right? There was actually the second person ever cured of HIV, right? There's only second ever, right? Happened this year. You probably didn't know about it. It's amazing that our pollution levels have dropped. Agreed? How many of you feel like the Earth was just like put us in our room for 5 minutes? Right? Like nature's just like, hey, enough of that. Like, you need to go to your room and think about what you've done, right? Locked us all in our houses for 8 months, and hopefully it'll let us out. But here's some great things that have happened. How cool is it to see things like movies in the park? Right? How cool is it to see amazing people doing crazy, wild, awesome shows, right? What was the name of his show? Does anybody remember what he called that? Anyway, he went on every single day and did a video about the awesome things that are happening in the world. We saw people, right, getting out sewing machines, making masks, hanging out with their kids. I called my mom months and months ago, and I go, what do you do? She goes, making masks. And I was like, cool, you know what I mean? Right? Good or bad, Tiger King, you know what I mean, right? I had somebody say the other day, they go, you know what, I really miss the Tiger King stimulus part of the thing, right? Like who knew that we were going to look back and go, like, that was the best part? Like, right? Like, man, I really missed that part of the pandemic. Anyway, Tiger King changed us all in one way or another. Right? We got board games out, right, with our kids. How many of you found joy hanging out with your kids again? Kind of. It was a love-hate relationship. I get it, right? But it was amazing just to go on walks at the night or hang out with people, not be rushing. One of my most beautiful things that I experienced this is just not rushing all the time, right? Soccer practice, baseball, this, that, right? It was kind of nice to be locked in a house for a couple days, right? I enjoyed that part of it. We learned to connect in a whole new way. This is kids playing tic-tac-toe with their UPS driver, right? We learned that teaching kids is hard. How many of you fell in love with teachers all over again? Right? You called your teacher from last year, like, whatever you want, I will give you, right? Like if you need donuts dropped off 5 times a day, I'm in, right? Please take my kids, right? No, but we learned to appreciate teachers, yes? right? We also learn to kind of appreciate the process with our kids. Pretty cool. Bikes sold out everywhere. I didn't know so many people lived in my neighborhood. I saw people walking around like I didn't know where they all came from. People were walking, biking, it was amazing. A couple other things. We saw people celebrating in new ways, right? Some of it broke our hearts. Some of us were reminded what to be thankful for, right? We took going to grandma's house for granted, didn't we? Right? We learned to do things like bake with our kids and teach them things that we hadn't previously taught them because they're so busy, right? How many of us realized that relationships were kind of important again, right? And which relationships were important, correct? Also, this was the golden age of memes. Like, I don't think we can just go past that. Would you agree? Like, this was the greatest time we will probably ever see of memes on the internet. Like, we had quality and we had quantity, and it was through the roof. Agreed? All right. So it's supposed to be about business. It's supposed to be serious. Here we go. I love this one. He's probably thinking about protecting our family from COVID. I can't believe this whole time I could have bought a tiger for only $2,000. I had no idea you get a tiger for $2,000. How many of you, like, this was like the first 8 weeks for real, right? Like every day, you know what I mean? Every day. How many of you were like, finished Netflix? Well, like, what do we do? What do we do next, right? Where do we go from here? I love this. This is for all of you that are in amazing relationships. When we get out of this and I ask you where you want to eat, right? I do not want you here, I don't know. You've had 45 days. At this point, you've had 8 months to think about it. Right? Like, if you don't know where you want to go to eat, we have a major relationship problem. All right, so here's a couple things we also learned. We learned that things can change fast. How it happened fast, didn't it? Right? It felt like overnight. We found that I'll say it this way. We found out who the leaders actually are. How many of people that were leaders before all this got exposed, and they weren't really leaders? There was a lot of people that ran and hid. I remember talking to a couple leaders, and they said, if you don't have bags under your eyes right now as a leader, you're not an actual leader, right? Because leaders stepped up and they went to the front of the line, right? It was tough. It also gave real leaders an opportunity to show up, which was kind of cool. We did 10 years of adoption in 8 weeks, right? Everybody got a Zoom account, literally, right? People transitioned to online shopping. The adoption that probably would have taken 10 years prior happened in 8 weeks, and that changed our society. Would you agree? Good, bad, or indifferent, it was amazing to see how you can ramp up something like that so freaking fast. Agreed? We learned that when crisis hit, the people that won during this time were the people that went deep, not the people that went wide, right? The people that kind of narrowed their focus, they said, hey, we're getting rid of all these extra fun whatever things, right? If we had 15 ways of lead generating, we got rid of all those, and we really leaned into 2 or 3, agreed? Right, those are the people that won. We learned, for all of us that didn't realize we were control freaks, we learned that there's even more stuff we don't control, which was awesome. Right? How many of you are like, I thought I had it bad before, right? Oh, dear Lord. All right, we also learned, John and I were just talking about this, we learned that businesses are no longer afraid to have employees work from home, which is really cool. I think it's pretty cool. I think we're going to see way more businesses have people work from home. Way more people are going to get paid based on results than hours put in. Agreed? Good, bad, or indifferent, right? It's going to be a phenomenal shift. We also, let me say this before I slide. We also learned that if we can get locked down once, it can happen again. Would you agree? Right? We learned that there are some things we need to prepare for and think about differently than maybe we ever have in our entire life. Agreed? Right? It's a whole new way of being. I love this. We learned we're pretty freaking resilient, right? How many of you got really, really proud of our community, Right? I remember someone on a call the other day we were having with the one-on-one with clients, and she said, sometimes I have to remind myself that not everyone's doing awesome because I'm surrounded by people that are killing. I'm surrounded by people that are doing well and leaning in, and they have a great mindset. And sometimes I have to remind myself how many people are actually suffering during this time, right? We learned we are stronger, funnier, and more powerful than we thought we were. Would you agree? I'm proud of who we are as a country and our resilience, yes, especially as entrepreneurs, right? It was so cool to see people turn on a dime and start making ventilators or start doing whatever we needed to do, right? There's one company I was coaching, and they did all their business sales. Bruce, you were on the call, right? I was on a call, and they did all their business sales by in-home tasting, right? Do you think their business plan changed, right? Like that, right? Interesting. There are some people that have done really, really well in this time. And what I want you to walk away from today with is, I want you to walk away from today not just inspired, but I want you to walk away from today empowered. I want you to walk away from today going, not only do I now know that I can, there are other people that have shown me and given me some tips and some tools. I want you to walk away knowing you can have an amazing end of this year or next year. And I want you to know with all your heart that you have the tools and the things in place to be able to do that. We saw, I was talking to Amanda Douglas, one of my clients in Florida. They beat their record every single month for the last 8 months, right? Amanda, you probably did the same thing. You guys were crushing it, right? How many of you almost felt it? Here's why there's kind of two people right now. Some people are really, really suffering, and I get that, and I don't want to downplay that. Yet there's also some people that are almost embarrassed to share that they've done so well during this time. And I want you to know that if you are part of this community, if you're on here, this is the one place on earth that you don't have to pretend you're perfect, but you also don't have to apologize for being awesome. You don't have to apologize for some of the success you had. This is the space where we can celebrate a whole lot of that. Jeff Rising the other day called me. He has done almost all of his 2021 goals that we wrote like a month ago. He's like, I got to do my goals all over again. I've done all of them. And I'm like, right? People are achieving. People are leaning in and having amazing experiences. All right. So here's what I'm going to get into. I believe right now that, like I said, the biggest mistake we will make is returning to normal, is going back to the way things used to be. Agreed? Right? Like if and I talk to business about this, I say, hey, what do you need to change based on what you've learned the last 8 months? They say, nothing, we're good. That kind of freaks me out, because if you didn't learn something, I think there was something for everyone to learn and some adjustments to be made by everybody. Agreed? Right? So here's a couple of things. You are, and I believe most of us, right, we're at a crossroads. And you know that there are so many people that do this. So many people are going, we hear it all the time. They go, I can't wait for it to get back to, how many like heard that, right? I can't wait for it to get back to normal, right? They go, I'm going to lean in when it gets back to, there are so many people waiting for things to get back to normal. And what I want you to get excited about is creating, this is the greatest opportunity for you to create your new moving forward normal. Agreed? Right? Here, a couple of things we learned, right? So what are you going to do? Are you going to create a new way, or are you going to go back to normal? We learned that it doesn't have to be crazy at work all the time, right? We learned that we don't have to drive. How many of you are loving not driving all over town all the time? Like, it is the greatest gift that God, right? Somebody's like, hey, you want to, Zoom, perfect, awesome. I just saved like 5 hours I would have thrown away, right, 8 months ago. We learned who was loyal to us and who wasn't, right? Which companies, which business partners, who do we want to spend time? We learned, as weird as this is, for a lot of us, we learned we don't have to work normal business hours. You can do things differently than you did before. We learned that you don't necessarily have to have money to make money. How many people literally just started making masks and selling them, right, with what they had? We learned that we don't need outside things to make us happy. It really is our perspective. Agreed? We learned that you don't have to agree with someone in order to love them, and you don't have to spend time with someone you don't love. We realized how important relationships really are to us. So my question for you is, what have you learned? What are you going to do? What are you going to do moving forward? What's the significant change? Because we all say, oh, I'm going to do stuff different. How many of you remember 2007, 8, where we all made these big, huge promises? Right? Chuck, you know how many people like, I'm going to save money this time. I'm going to yada, 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 right? And an hour and a half later, no one had done anything, right? Here we are, right? It's so interesting. So my question for you is, and I want you to be specific, are you going to return back to normal, or are you going to change some things? Don't get caught up in just going back to showing 55 houses, right? Don't get caught up in just now wasting money because you know more's coming in. Right? Don't get caught up in having stupid meetings you don't need to be at. Right? Don't get caught up hanging out with people that you realize you didn't want to hang out with in the first place. So my question for you is, what is going to be your new normal moving forward? And I think that it's got to be you got to make a concrete decision on what's going to be different. Right? Here's what I really want you to walk away from today is. I want you to walk away with one of the things I want you to walk away from today is what exactly you're going to do next time crisis hits. As inspirational as this is not your last crisis. Right, Chuck, would you agree? Right, Bruce, you see, I mean, it's not the last one. We know that in this country, every 8 to 12 years, there's something that happens, right? And how many of you heard people, y'all are leaders, especially if you're watching this, right, and you're here, you're leaders. How many of you heard people say, there's nothing I could have done to prepare for this? Right? Man, you can't prepare. Yes, you could have, right? And you think about, had your relationships been deeper and stronger, had you had additional money in the bank, for some people, had their health been in a better position, it would have been a very different experience, yes? Right? So I want you to go, this is not my last crisis. I'm literally going to write down exactly what I need to do next time. I'm going to file that thing away in like pandemic drawer or whatever it is. And next time a crisis hits, I'm going to go over, pull this thing out, and I know what to start doing. Make sense? Okay, so I want you to think about what's going to be your new normal movement, and I want you to create that. So here's what I want you to get into. I love these three terms. We've been talking about these a lot. It's been going through my head for months. Radical, unapologetic success. Radical, unapologetic success. What do I mean on this? I think that most people are on the precipice of something new and amazing. That they're about to turn the page to the radical, unapologetic success chapter of their life. Right? And I want you to be able to define what that is. So I started Googling, which is always dangerous. Right, radical, which especially of change or action relating to or affecting the fundamental nature of something. The fundamental nature. I mean, radical is you change something that you've always been doing. Right? Radical means maybe I don't want to work at 9 to 5 anymore. Radical means I've been eating like crap for 40 years and maybe I'm going to do it different now. That's radical. Right? So for you, I want you to ask yourself, what does radical look like for you? What would a radical, best ever year of your life look like? I had one of my buddies call me 6 months ago, and he goes, I think I'm going to buy an RV, and then if school does start again, we're just going to homeschool our kids. This is like 6 months ago, right? When we thought we'd be going back to school. He goes, I'm buying an RV, and we're going on the road for a year. What do you think? You think I should do it? I'm like, yes, go! Right? Be radical. You got one shot at this. Get out of here. Right? So I want you to ask yourself, we live such freakingly boring, average, basic lives. Yes? Right? Most people get to the end of their life, and the only thing to really show for it is all the money they spent, right? And their grave marker. Huh? It's okay to be a little radical, yes? Radicals, I think about Lydia, who's actually, right, she's been with me for 6 years, and she's watching this today from Guatemala. Because she decided, you know what, I'm ready to do something radical in my life. She bought 2 investment properties in Guatemala. They're building another home. She took her 2 kids, right, her whole family down there. They're having the time of their life, living in the most gorgeous place you've ever seen, hanging out at the beach almost every day. That's radical, right? Loving her life. She tells me about the walks. I called her one day and said, send me the picture of, I said, FaceTime me. I said, FaceTime me real quick. I want to see what it looks like. And she sent me the picture of where she's sitting doing her work and the view out her window. And I started crying out. Right? It was so freaking beautiful. I'm so proud of you. Right? Radical. Right? She's proud of the mom and the wife she is. Right? Because she did some radical stuff. So I want you to ask you, what does radical look like for you? Radical might be saying no to some stuff. Radical might be saying yes to some stuff that scares you, right? Most of you know what it is. It would be hard for me to even guess how many people have come to me at a seminar or a training or whatever it is all over the world. And it's usually someone maybe in their 60s, 70s, whatever it is, and they go, I don't know how I got here. I had all these dreams, all these ambitions, all these things I was going to do. I don't know how I got here. First off, it breaks my heart because they're talking like they're already dead, right? And they've got so much left, right? And yet, here's how they got there, right? In my perception, the way they get there is it was just saying no to that nudge. It was saying no to that radical nudge they had several times. Why don't we sell the house and go do something different? They said no to that little voice inside them said, like, do it, you're worth it. They just said no a couple more times, all of a sudden it was 20 years, right? It's okay to be radical. What does radical look like for you? Here's my favorite one. This is my favorite one. Also, probably the hardest one for me to I should have asked Dave to like tell me how to explain this. I know what it means in my head, so maybe it's hard to get the words out. Unapologetic. Put forward or being such without apology or qualification. Here's what I think about when I think about unapologetic. I think about it's okay, let me say it this way. It's okay for you to do you, right? When I think about unapologetic, it doesn't mean it's not screw you, your way is wrong, my way is right. Unapologetic is like, hey, I'm thrilled for you to do whatever you're doing, and I'm going to do what's right for me. And I don't have to explain it all the time, right? People feel like they have to explain what they're doing all the time. I had a couple that goes, man, it's just so not the right decision for our family for us to go home for Christmas this year. Right? You go see my parents, it's just not the right decision for our little nucleus here, right? And they felt so guilty about it. And it hit me when Dave was talking this morning that when I think about this is the opposite of selfishness, and we'll see if this makes sense, right? Welcome to live. The opposite of selfishness is not selflessness. The opposite of selfishness is actually generosity. I thought that was beautiful. At least that's what I heard him say, right? The opposite of selfishness is not selflessness. I think we think in order for me to take care of other people, in order for me to be the mom, the dad, or the business owner I need to be, it means I've got to lay down and let everybody walk all over me, right? The opposite of selfishness is not selflessness where you let everybody walk all over you all the time, right? It's generosity and being all that you can be, being gracious, being kind, being loving, and going, look, I don't have to agree with what you're doing, right? Just because it's different from what I'm doing. Make sense? So my one of my therapists, dear God, it takes a tribe. One of my therapists said, unapologetic is giving a 2-sentence answer. Right? Somebody goes, why aren't you going to this thing? Or why aren't you help with this event? Or why aren't you doing whatever it is? And going, I looked at my schedule and it just wasn't a fit. The end. Right? 2-sentence answer. I thought that was beautiful. He goes, stop giving these, because I would give these diatribes of what I'm so sorry, I can't, I'm so, right? We get into this whole thing and it's just going, right? I looked at my schedule. It's not a win. I'm not able to do it this year. That's okay. When did we decide that it was so wrong to take care of ourselves? Right? Someone said the other day, they go, if I was never selfish, I wouldn't have finished writing the book. If I was never selfish, my health would be horrendous and I wouldn't be able to take care of my family. If I never took care of me, right, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm able to do. Make sense? Right? It's okay for you to be unapologetic. Doesn't mean you got to be rude. Doesn't mean you got to be a jerk. It's okay to go, look, I'm doing, right? We decided not to send our kids back to school. We decided to send our kids back to school. Whatever it is, right? It's okay to be unapologetic about the life you want to live, right? The truth is, the biggest lie we tell ourselves is that we're gonna make up for it down the road. There's time, right? There's not enough time for you to help to lay on the floor, let everybody else walk all over you, and to achieve your goals. You don't have enough time. Are you with me? Unapologetic. Here's the third one, success. Kind of why you're probably watching this or why you're here. When I think of success, what's interesting is so often I ask people, right, do you want to be successful, right? Kelly, you and I have had this in front of rooms hundreds of times, right? We go, hey, do you want to be successful? Everybody goes, yeah, right? We go, awesome. What would that look like? And they're like, I don't know, but I really want it. Right? We go, hey, do you want this to be the best year of your life? People go, yes, I want it to be the best year of my life. Absolutely. This is the one. We go, that's amazing. What would need to happen for this to be the best year of your life? And they go, I don't know, like make money. Like it freaks me out when I hear those answers. Because I'm going, you're so desperate to hit success. You're so desperate to have this to be an amazing year. And yet we don't even know what that even looks like most of the time. Right? So when I think of success, right, when we go back to radical, unapologetic success, I'm going, what is radical for you? What does unapologetic look like in your world? And what does success look like for you? You got to be able to determine and define what is success, yes? Right? Because most people, right, they spend their whole life trying to get it and they never do. I love some of these quotes on success. John Wooden said, success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing you made the effort to do your best to become the best you are capable of becoming. I thought that was a pretty cool quote. I think most people at the end of the day, what they really want to be able to do is put their head on the pillow at night and be proud of themselves. Right? I love it. Someone else said, actually, one of my mentors, Rock Thomas, I love that man. And he said, everybody wants self-confidence. Everybody wants to be proud of themselves. And yet, there's only one way you get there. You do really hard stuff. There's only one way to get self-confidence and to be proud of yourself. You do really hard stuff you weren't 100% sure you're going to be able to do. You do it and you look back and you go, man, I'm so proud of myself that I tried. I'm so proud of myself that I pushed through it. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. I was scared of that call. I made it. Now I'm proud of myself, right? I was scared of knocking on that door. I did it. Now I'm proud of myself, right? You earn pride. You earn, right, that satisfaction. You earn believing in yourself, right? So when I think about this, I go, what is success and what does that need to look like to you? I love Maya Angelou, right? I just love listening to that woman, reading her words, right? And she said, success is liking yourself. Easier said than done sometimes, right? Liking what you do and liking how you do it. Right? I don't think you can take any of those three out and have the same thing, right? It takes work to figure that out, by the way, doesn't it? Takes work to figure out what that needs to look like. I love this, and I think I don't remember who said that. Maybe it was Gary Keller, and he said his definition of success is being a bit better tomorrow than he was today. It doesn't have to be fancy. You can write what your definition is, right? When I think about my purpose, my purpose, my mission, my desire is, my magnificent obsession, right, is to unravel the mystery of human behavior. Right? So that I'm able to offer solutions and strategies to truly make a difference in the quality of people's lives. Right? If I'm doing that and getting better at that every day, right, I feel successful, right? Now, I better be better at it a year from now than I am today. That wouldn't be cool. If I was just like, yeah, made it, done. Right? I got to keep working on it in order to continue to feel successful, yes? There's, we talk about it, and yet I want you to really think and reflect. What have you been saying? When I have more time, I will. You don't have enough time to live someone else's version of success and your own. You can't do them both. You can't live out their version of success and make up for time later. Agreed? The biggest lie, actually one of my pastors said this the other day. He said, one of the things that makes terrible parents is the illusion that we have more time, right? I'll correct them next time. Let's just get in the car, right? Right? We'll spend the weekend together, probably maybe just next weekend. The illusion that we have, you don't have more time, right? Kelly, you and I have gone to way too many funerals this year, agreed? Right? I was thinking about that last night. We've gone to a lot of funerals in the last year, right? Most of those people thought they had more time. You don't have more time. You got to do it right now. Don't go back to normal. It wasn't that great. Are you with me? Don't go back to normal. Don't go back to where it was a hostage negotiation getting your kids out of the house every morning. Right? Like, get in the van, right? I'll either give you $100 or I'm going to take away all your toys. Like, it's a hostage negotiation every single morning, right? Don't go back to that. Don't go back to I never see my parents. Tell you what, something that really messed me up. This was a couple months ago. I guess maybe this was last year sometime, and the other day, right? That's why everybody laughs at me because I just say the other day, and it could mean like literally like 4 days ago or 10 years ago. John's like, no, when did it happen? The other day, I had a guy that said, all right, how old are you? And I told him. He goes, okay, how old are your parents? And I told him. He said, how often do you see them? And I said they live in Canada, and especially with my other kids living in Alaska, like it's hard to get there, right? My wonderful little excuse. I said it's just tough to get there, and he goes, okay, well, based on the math, you're going to see him 6 more times. If you see him about every other year or every 1.5 years, he goes, you're probably going to hang out with your parents 6 more times. That messed me up, right? How many more summers do you have with the kids? Not as many as you probably think, right? How many more times do you have to do something radical that doesn't put other people in harm's way? How much more time do you have to really lean in and go, look, I've realized who I am. And I realized that my version of success is radical. I get that it's different than most people's. I get it, right? I'm also unapologetic about it because it works for me. This is my definition of success, and why would I chase anyone else's? As we roll through today, I want you to pick up some pieces from different people, but I want you to make your own version of this, yes? There's, everyone kept asking me while I was carrying pliers around. Here's what I have no idea what this is called. I call it a ball that gets bigger. Kelly the other day told me the actual name of it, which I forgot immediately. All right, so when we look at this, here's what I think. I had a client of mine a couple months ago, and he came back from a 10-day vacation. And he goes, awesome vacation. He took a deep breath. He goes, all right, now I got to go back to work. In that conversation, what he began to realize and what hit me so hard was his vacation was part of his work. Part of his whole life work. Are you with me? Too often, we live as though life is kind of in these. Let me see if I have it. Kind of in these little boxes, right? Like hey, my health is in this box, and then I've got my relationships down here, and then I've got the friends that I really need to hang out with down here, and then I've got my finances. We kind of ignore that box a whole lot, right? Whatever it is, I got my health box, right? There's all these different boxes, and especially us dudes, we think that we can just kind of take care of a couple boxes, and that's okay. And when I get successful, then I'm going to do this. I talked to a guy yesterday. He goes, man, I'm so busy. When I get all this stuff done, I get these 6 people hired, then I'm going to start taking care of my health, right? We have this amazing illusion that there's all these different boxes that they don't touch, yes? And yet when you really look at it, you realize life is a little bit more like this, right? I got my relationships, I got my health, I got my finances, right? I got going to Canada to see my parents. I got breakfast every Friday morning with Tyler, right? Like there's all these different parts of my life, right? And they all work together, yes? Right? You're going on vacation is just as important as your work if that's what you need to be your best, yes? Right? I see so many, and I think it's especially true with moms, right? I see so many moms that are not taking care of themselves because they're being super mom. Right? And I'll tell you what, at some point it breaks down. You know when it usually breaks down? It usually breaks down when they see their kids growing up being moms and putting themselves in last place, and they see their kid doing exactly what they did, hating their life in an effort to be the perfect mom. And it breaks their heart, and usually it's too late. Right? You role model that. Here's what I want you to think about. What is when you think about radical, unapologetic success, it takes a minute to figure out. This is why so many times we talk about in coaching, this is hard to figure out on your own. You usually need somebody else to help you get all these pieces together, right? But we talk about how if this is suffering or this is suffering or this is suffering, right, it all interacts with each other, yes? Right? This is your whole life work. What do you want it to look like? And yet, here, what we do is we go, you know what? Finances are not that important. I'm just going to kind of lob that thing off, right? And then we go, ooh, I thought, talking to my kid about tough stuff, let's just ignore that one, right? We try to section out, I don't need a vacation, right? Right? God didn't take vacations, I'm good. Actually, he did. Oh, crap, right? We start thinking that we can do life this way, don't we? And then we try to freaking get our ball to cram back in, right? Isn't that what we do? Why am I so tired, exhausted, and pissed off? Sorry, and frustrated. Most people are not going to learn anything from the last 8 months. They're going to go back to normal, and normal was not that great. Are you with me? I want you to give yourself permission to be the person you'd be proud of. To be the person you would be proud of your kids growing into. Are you with me? Huh? One of my favorite questions is, what would I tell my son to do in this situation? A lot of times it gives me massive clarity, right? It depends on which son. I have 3, right? But it helps me realize I would tell him to take the trip and enjoy the day. I would tell him to invest his money. I'd tell him to save. Am I taking the same advice I would give him so that I can be proud of me? Make sense? So as you go out from today, there's a great quote. I love this quote. I've heard it 100 times. You can fail at what you don't want, so you may as well take a chance on doing what you love. Okay? It's incredibly true. And if that didn't hit home with most people in the last 8 months, right, they missed it. Missed it. Don't return back to normal. Here's what I want you to think about. In this moment, actually, let's make it weird. Here we go. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to just even if you're at home in your underwear watching this, whatever it is, and those of you that are here right now live, I want you to stand up for a second. Just close your eyes. Stand up for a second. It's probably going to totally mess up our cameras, and John's going to kill me, and it's going to look like a bunch of backs. Here's what I want you to stand up. I want you to close your eyes just for a second. Take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Just get present in the moment. Keep your eyes closed, and I want you to think about this question. Imagine that the bravest version of you leaned in over the next 12 months. The bravest version of you took care of you. The bravest version of you helped you make tough choices. The bravest version of you helped you be the mom or the parent or the business owner you needed to be. Keep your eyes closed. Take a stand. Even if you're at home, just breathe this in. What would the bravest version of you, right, that person, what would their relationships look like? They would hang out with people that they wanted to spend time with, and there's a whole lot of people they probably wouldn't spend time with. The bravest version of you, how would that person handle money in the next 12 months? The bravest version of you, what would that person do to enjoy the ride? To renew, to take care of themselves, to enjoy the journey? How would the bravest version of you lay out your weekly schedule? What would the bravest version of you stop doing? What would the bravest version of you start doing? When you keep your eyes closed for one more second, keep standing. Take a breath in and realize that being a hero is a verb, it is not a noun. Being your own hero, living heroically, is day-to-day actions. It's not a once-a-time thing you do. It's a day-to-day action. I want you to, with you and yourself, make the commitment to be your own hero in the next 12 months. I want you to implore yourself to be brave and make heroic choices for you. Take care of you like you are responsible for your own self-care. It's amazing how good we are at taking care of other people. We don't take care of ourselves sometimes. Make the commitment to to be your own hero in the next 12 months. To live heroically. Not just a one-time thing. It's a decision over and over, to make the decision to live heroically. When you're ready, take a deep breath, grab your seat. Here's the last thing I want to finish with. You didn't come this far to just come this far. Agreed? You didn't come this far to just come this far. We've made it through a pandemic. You survived living in a space with your spouse for 8 months, locked behind the door, some of you, right? You know what I mean? Right? Like, you continue to take care of, like, you did not get through, you survived Tiger King. You did not get through everything you've got through in the last 8 months to even consider slowing down or stopping now. You did not come this far to just come this far. The question I want you to continually reflect on throughout the day is, what's my version of radical, unapologetic success? And what am I going to do? What do I need to do? What is that heroic version of me, the brave version of me know I need to do to be incredibly proud of myself at the end of this year and a year from today? I implore you to live radically, unapologetic, and up to your own version of success, to be your own hero. All right, enjoy the rest of the summit. This is where we go to learn. See you at the top. Hey.
Wayne Salmans, everybody.
Thank you, brother.
This guy. Life changes. Life changes. I think a lot of us wouldn't be able to get through the pandemic like we did without him. I want to ask you a few questions.
Whew, all right.
What do you find was the biggest obstacle for the people that you work with to get a jump started at the beginning of the pandemic?
It was I think the biggest challenge for most people was not wanting to, resisting to, and not acknowledging what needed to change, right? Like resisting, I've got to get amazing at Zoom. Resisting, I've got to change the way I've done everything. Resisting, I have to teach my kids now. I don't know how to do it, right? They resisted it, and some people are still resisting. I think resistance was the biggest thing. Failing to acknowledge, like, I got to change this. Right? And I think people are still doing it right now. Failing to acknowledge that people are like, hey, in the future, and I'm like, it's here. Yeah. Not sure if you've been paying attention, but the future is not there. It's here, and suffering once instead of suffering twice. I think that's probably the biggest thing. So resisting, let's talk about resilience. Yeah. You've had some fascinating stories of people pivoting, yeah. of you've helped people flip the script and be really resilient and actually watching their business explode instead of implode. Yeah. You got a story you want to share? I love it. Actually, Denton Aguam, who will be here this afternoon, I remember, and I hope he brings this up. I'll make sure he does if I can. But I said, how long did it take you? Like, what questions did you ask yourself? How long did it take you to pivot? And he goes, dude, like, we talked about it, and it probably took, like at least a week. And he was like bummed out that it took him a week to make some decisions, right? And I'm going, dude, we're like 8 months later, and there's people that are still going, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, but to him, right, he was like, man, it took forever. Like, people that, like, what was one of the first calls we did when this whole thing started? We sat down with people and we said, all right, what do you need to cut? What do you need to keep? Let's do it. Let's do the work right now. What do you need to cut? What do you need to keep? Let's figure it out. That was like day one, right? We're not going to wait 6 months. It's like right now, what are we going to do? So they take action when they know action needs to be taken. It's like they accepted what was going on. Yes. Yeah. And said, okay, here's how we're going to fix it. Yes. And I mean, it breaks my heart because I see this with a lot of people around their kids, right? So there's people that go, oh man, I got to homeschool my kids. Which, by the way, I get is tough, right? My kids are crazy, right? Yours are crazy. This dude sent my son a drum set. My wife looked at me with all the seriousness in the world and said, does he love you or hate you? I can't tell. Based on what's happening upstairs right now, right? But I think you're so right that they looked at it and they leaned right in, and now they're really proud of themselves for what they did. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing that has been great too is your tribe, the people that you're surrounding yourself with.
Yes.
Having a great coach, great mentor, and you've got some really great ones with the Hero Nation. I mean, they all have like their own special thing. And so you would think that during this pandemic that teams were going to go away. And in fact, Kelly Kilmer is like the expert on building a team.
Yeah.
How is she showing people right now?
Well, and I think, going back to the parents homeschooling their kids, it's you have one parent that goes, this is going to be terrible, it's 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 going to be terrible, and then all of a sudden it's terrible. And you have other people that go, like, man, this is going to be weird, we're going to figure it out. Right? And I think that goes back to like what you're talking about with Kelly. There's people that go, man, this is probably going to be horrendous. I can't tell you how many people said, man, this is the worst time to hire. This is the worst time. This is the right blah. And Kelly's sitting over here going, are you kidding me? Like, this is like the blue ocean of hiring, right? Like the greatest people ever now don't have jobs, and I'm going to go get them all, right? And she launched businesses during the pandemic, right? And I think that it's so, and we'll talk about, I'm sure we'll hear that multiple times throughout the day, but it's like, is it the reality that's there or the reality that you're going to choose?
Yeah. Well, I'm interested to hear her talk later on today, too, because she has built some extra businesses and passive income coming in.
Yeah.
Elisa, she has gone through some more than just the pandemic, right? She's gone through some incredible things with her husband, health fronts, and she has shown that she's a true hero, and through her actions, she's using that with her clients.
Yeah.
What would you say about her and her method?
So here's what I would say about Elisa, and I love her story. We've had so many fun conversations. She walked the walk. I think it's really easy for people to talk the talk and not walk the walk, right? So in our conversations, she did what she told other people to do, and that means she walked the walk. There are things that she got rid of, things she stopped doing, things she started doing. She took charge of a bunch of different things in her family relationships, and seeing people that and I think there's two kinds of people, right? Let me say it this way: I don't think the pandemic changed a lot of people in a sense. I think it exposed them.
Yes.
Right, and like when you think about Elisa, like when Elisa got squeezed, right? Like Leader came out, and Boss Coach came out, and like I'm gonna live my own unapologetic success came out, right? A whole lot of people got squeezed, and there was nothing great there, and they ran away.
Yeah, she got backed into a corner, came out swinging.
Woo!
Yeah, and then Chris Diana, the guy's an oracle, man. He's like Socrates. Everything that comes out of his mouth is like mesmerizing.
It's amazing. Yes. Yeah. Although we do need somebody to go organize his office.
We'll send Kelly over there.
Yeah, he's one of the, like those brilliant minds that just has stacks, and you look at it and it freaks you out. But yeah, and here's what I love about Chris. One of the things I love about him is he reminds me a lot of like, Dave Jakes will be up here later. Like, he's been through some stuff, right? He's like one of those guys that's been through like 6 wars and people are shooting at him. He's like, whatever, like, God, this again? You know what I mean? Like, we're doing this again, really? You know what I mean? Right, the just shooting thing, like, that's happening again, right? Right? Hey, he's just like, dudes, like, we've been through this a bunch of times. Like, buckle down, here we go. Right? We're going to be okay. You better make some decisions and get on. Like, get on with it. What are you waiting for? We're all over here going like, man, it hurts, right? He's like, go.
Are you going to complain about it? Are you going to get up and do something?
Yeah, Chris says, he would say, people go, man, it was a bad day. He's like, compared to what?
Compared to what?
Yeah.
Are you dead?
Are you dead? Did you lose a friend today?
Yeah.
You're like, no, I got a ticket. Like, I got a parking ticket. Man, today sucked. He's like, really?
Today sucked, or did you have a bad 5 minutes?
Yeah, you had about 5 minutes and you milked it for 24 hours.
Yeah. So we talk about having a great tribe, and the importance I feel of field coaching is that, and that's a whole concept that either you set it up or you stole it, but you owned it. Is there's so many different people. There's entrepreneurs. I've seen. We had a group of people that coach on Wednesday afternoons. And there's so much great input that's shared, and then the pod calls afterwards. And what was cool story yesterday is I was on a flight, and I had to have them just take over and run with it.
Right.
And I was talking to them last night, and they're all like, "Dude, we had the greatest conversations, and I learned so much from this person."
There's like a little party that dies when they're like, "Hey, that call without you was amazing." Right, like there's a little part you're like, then you get really proud, really like, oh, it's awesome, I'm so proud of you guys. But there's a little moment, right? But yeah, I love that part. And what's cool about I don't know anyone in our community in the last 8 months that's gone down in production. Every single person has thrived, right? And it's so funny. Bruce, who's a videographer, his business. I remember some of the early conversations. His business has done amazing things in the last several years. Where I know some other people that are in the exact same business and folded up shop because they couldn't make it. Same thing, doing the same work. One pivoted, and a big reason they pivoted is because of the people they surround themselves with, right? And I tell you what, it's so critical that you have that in your life. That stop trying to do it for yourself, man.
No, and you say this all the time, and I love this. Hey, how do I do something? It's who do I know knows how to do that?
Right. Yeah.
And your ideas of collapse in time, where, I mean, between all of us in our group, there's trillions of years of knowledge. Yeah. So it's like, why go through the crap that we all had to go through when you could just learn it? You sit down with Kelly or Elisa
I think when it comes down to coaching, people go, why should I get into coaching? Why should I have that going on? At the end of the day, it comes down to, do you want to do it faster and get less beat up? Right? Do you want to do it faster? Do you want, instead of taking you 6 years, do you want it to take you 2? And do you want to be a whole lot less beat up along the way? Do you want to maybe not lose money on stuff you shouldn't have been doing? Do you want to maybe not lose a relationship along the way? Do you maybe want to avoid some of that stuff? Awesome. That's why this is key.
Well, and then the Hero Nation too is completely recognized that there's not a one-size-fit-all.
No, dude, that's what this is all about. If someone in our community is nailing this and they're struggling with this, guess what? We're going to help. We're going to jump in, because it's not. I don't care how good you're doing here. If this is a train wreck, right? It's not going to work very long.
Like they say, a problem is just an unanswered question, and with the power of our tribe, boom, we got the ability to answer a lot of questions. All right, man. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, dude.
Once again, thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you, we could not make this happen.